Ladies and gentlemen, Pronogo is back to bring you some Cause Monarchy. We have an interesting set of matches here for you. We got two games between HitEmUp and Ayud64 under the ID Protoss Sim Classic. He is the Blood Protoss, going for a Gateway Open, and also going for a Gateway Open, but in a different orientation, is HitEmUp, the Ultramarine Protoss. And we are on a map called Smokeshow, which is a port of Sideshow. You might recognize the layout if you've been here long enough. But it's an interesting one. It's a pretty interesting one. Now, cutely enough here, it looks like the initial pathway does send you to the generators. That's probably something I'm going to see if I can tweak later. They might have also, I'm not actually sure where they right-clicked. I'll have to check that in the second game. But overall, it's a map that doesn't feature too many changes. The main one is that this middle path is blocked. So that might need to change. Maybe we block one of the other passageways or whatever. But overall, it's I think it'll be an interesting match. And these two players are always pretty high level and pretty good players, top players. Right now, Ayud is ranked above HitEmUp, but Ayud has done that mostly off the back of his Terran play. He has played all the other races, well, with the exception of the Escozi, I guess. He's played, Protoss, he's played Zerg. And he's done all right in terms of weekend wage performances here. Not quite catching it. There you go. A little bit of micro goes a long way. And it looks like the Legionnaire on both sides. Both players playing Legionnaire. I dig it. Embassy coming up here for HitEmUp. But it's a Rogue Gallery follow-up for Ayud. He's playing under the name Protoss Sim, but he doesn't want to have a lattice? What's this guy all about anyway? I do think that Legionnaires are a pretty good counter to the Kabbalist, because its main strength of being able to port in and snipe stuff is a lot harder to pull off. And actually, HitEmUp is preempting the Kabbalist with the Embassy. He can make a witness pretty early on. And it's pretty reasonable, right? It's similar to the Dark Templar, OBS, strats, and builds like 3-Gate Observer or whatever in Starcraft 1. It's kind of similar there, where you're jockeying for positioning. But the Kabbalist will also be a scout. And look at the Legionnaire's airtight wall over here. Technically, the Kabbalist could try to come over here and then teleport to this guy and hope that he teleports on the bottom. Or if anybody's on the other side of the wall, he can port to that and then come in. But that's risky business when there's 7 Legionnaires already done. They can just tag you and teleport to you. Anytime the Legionnaire debuffs an enemy with its attack, all other Legionnaires that are allied to it, which includes if you were playing 2v2 or whatever with double Protoss, can teleport to the target as long as they're within 3 range or so. And there's the witness, perfect timing. It doesn't pull the guy back, but I would have loved if he typed the message sorry, we're closed. Scribe can't get out to expand either. This one's self-inflicted. I take no credit for it. So the Nexus will go down here pretty soon, and I do think that HitEmUp is going to have a little bit of an economic worry to worry about, considering he's got a sizable army in terms of numbers, but in terms of quality, it's not as good. And Ayud isn't that much of a slouch in terms of the quantity either. But HitEmUp adds double lattice and goes for manifolds. He put himself behind a little bit with that Embassy, but obviously it was, for the witness. And if he's not careful, oh man. HitEmUp is probably on hold position here, which is a really smart move. The Ecclesiasts are the only thing that would give it away that there's a witness there, unless, HitEmUp actually showed it earlier, and it looks like the witness was sighted there early as well. So he's got double witness. So one of them is watching over here, sees the Nexus. Yeah, HitEmUp's actually in a fine position. I mean, obviously he's not going to be as well kitted out when it comes to the economy, but that's not a problem for him. He is not planning on that being his issue. He's going to station the witness with the Warden, and that will shoot away the Kabbalist. The other witness is just following the army, and his army is just going to go ahead and catch him. He's probably going to, if I had to guess, set up a concave or whatever, but he could even just decide to park a bunch of the Legionnaires behind the minerals and then sneak attack him. He's got the Scribe out just in case, his opponent sees him. But I don't believe that HitEmUp is planning to expand this game. I think this is going to be a one-base attack. Army count growing in favor of the Ultramarine Protoss. This is, by the way, this is HitEmUp, champion of Acropolis 3, against Aoud, the runners-up of Acropolis 3. Well, looks like he will actually have a chance to put down an Nexus. Oh no, Aoud, you've forgotten about the power generators in the middle of the map. HitEmUp might take this opportunity to snipe on a few units. And indeed, Ecclesius goes down. Zealot just being tickled here. Nexus does indeed go down. The Kabbalist is standing by, ready to move in. There's already the preempt, as mentioned here. I believe there's a witness. Oh, there might not be a witness anymore. I'm not quite sure where the witness went. It might have been added to the control group. Aoud, my guy. You just lost your Kabbalist. So no counter pressure there from our blood-red Protoss. And the Zealots are not holding up as well as you would like when all the Manifolds are here to boost the armor pen. The Legionnaires actually do pretty well against them. Double Ardent, but it's not enough. Did not come online fast enough, and Aoud just got outmaneuvered by HitEmUp. That's pretty legit. That's pretty legit. I actually really... I think that, like, HitEmUp talks about how he just makes unit win game. And to an extent, there's truth to what he did there. But I actually believe very strongly that that game showed that he understood what Aoud would try to do. And it's on Aoud to attempt some kind of response, to attempt some kind of change or fix or modification to his build order. So let's see what happens in our second match. And Aoud seems to not be too happy about the loss. Admittedly, he did put his Ardents in his natural instead of maybe up here where he might have been able to put some kind of change up together, but I think he was probably dead no matter what. Now, in the bottom right, we do have HitEmUp. He is our Glacial Protoss. And in the top left, once again, as the Blood Protoss, it is Aoud. So we will see same positions, but, you know, Aoud doesn't like mirror. He said that in the opening stages of that last game. I can't believe you don't like mirror. Come on now. And, of course, HitEmUp is happy to rock and roll. It looks like this has actually been preset. It didn't take very long for Aoud to adjust his positions, his mouse clicks. Lattice. So it will be a double lattice straight from the get-go. We'll see if HitEmUp can do it. Now he's just going to go ahead and right-click generally, and we'll see if that does carry him to where, you know, the same path as before. He might need to adjust his worker scout path again. Again, something that, you know, the map itself will change. The map is the easiest thing to adjust. It's not really that big of a deal. Though you are seeing why you don't see, like, destructible rock style things happen very often, because the game is like, the quickest path is through these rocks, and it's like, jeez. Though he doesn't really lose that much time, even when it goes all the way over there. It's like a maybe 1 second difference. So, not a huge deal. The Vassal is already leaving the building. The Scribe will scout it, or should. No, oh yeah, it comes down to see it. So, you know, he can make the Drakiden, no big deal. It looks like he had already preempted that with a Drakiden. And it is going to be Sims afterwards, so at least one Sim here. He's building a Simulacrum against the Protoss Sim player. I can't believe it. Down it goes. So it will be 2-gate Rogue Gallery. Gallery gate. Vassal will narrowly stay alive. Once again, going for that Kabbalist. The Scribe comes into Rescout, which is an interesting, like, 1-2 thing. I don't know if he was just going to make a Vassal anyway. I'm not really sure if he needed to send out the Scribe, but there must have been some funny HitEmUp plan there. And goes right back for the Embassy here. Not a blind one this time around, by the way. I guess maybe last time he did scout in time to see the gallery, so. One thing that I saw Nebleim do against Jack Yelansky is not... He went Rogue Gallery, but he didn't make a Kabbalist. And I think versus Protoss, if you go this Rogue Gallery build, and it looks like you're going to make a Kabbalist, and then you just don't, and you make Vagrants instead, or you build it to make your opponent build the Embassy, and then you expand, or something like that, right? There could be mind games that you layer in there that would be really interesting. Lattice in a Grand Library. We'll see if HitEmUp can make this work. It's very different structures than before, and the Vassal coming in to do some heckling. Unlikely to get a kill here. Yeah, needed a couple more shots. Unfortunate. So there's the Witness. A couple manifolds coming. That will improve the DPS of the Simulacrum. I can't get in. Something's stopping me. I don't know if Ayud knows that trick, but he could have ported onto the manifold. It's a little bit less scary to do that. Let's see. It would turn into 60 damage. So if you do that twice to a manifold, if you have 2 Kabbalists and you do that to a manifold, you can one-shot. You two-shot them. But who wants to make 2 Kabbalists at this early into the game? Come on now. Ain't nobody. Witness is out here to try to heckle and push away the Kabbalist. Shout out to Rainarel for giving me an icon for the Kabbalist Warp Blade, by the way. Pretty nifty. We do have the Cantavis drop. The Storm drop is incoming here, as he uses the Embassy for something else. And there's the Nexus. A little bit behind schedule versus what Ayud has. Alexander says, everybody likes the blood color. Yeah. Hard not to like it. I mean, doesn't it look pretty intimidating? I don't want to face a blood-colored enemy. Now, just you wait until you face a blood-colored blood summon. Alright. Envoy scooped up the Cantavis. You know what race Sunglow looks best on, Alexander? Protoss. Atreus. The Atreus is coming. This is prior to my buffing of the Atreus, by the way. I think the Storm drop could go off pretty well. Usually Ayud is good at responding to drops. He does have a bunch of units already ready, including a Charlatan. Here we go. Let's see what the reaction is from Ayud. Oof. 4 workers dead. It is a pretty quick reaction, all things considered. 1 scribe went down super fast because of the damage dealt to it by the vassal earlier. A little bit disappointed that I bigged him up and then he just allowed the unload and the cast to happen before a reaction. But as soon as he got the notification that he was under attack, he did respond really quickly. Just not as much mini-mass. Not as much mini-map awareness. Interesting that there's a pair of vassals now leaving the building. I'm guessing he just wants to scout the whole enemy without bothering to use his witness in case the Kabbalist continues to heckle him and he doesn't want to make a new one right now. He did make a single artisan. He's harvesting some resources from the mineral-only expansion. There's another factor or feature of this map. We've got mineral-only thirds, and then you've got 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock with the double ridge. And then there are double gas spaces available in the center. I don't think very many people will bother taking those. And then another set of mineral-only bases in the corner. So the vassals kind of pull his opponent out of initial sync, but there's already an army of Ecclesias Vagrant and a Matrix reinforcing the position at the natural. The mineral-only expansion over here is pretty neat. I don't know how many people will bother taking it. It's technically a new addition. It wasn't in the original schematic, shall we say. I can already tell you that Krankendow will get Droleth stuck here and then complain, so I should probably add some unbuildable terrain there, unpathable terrain there. Krankendow is really talented at finding stuck spots for units. Witness flying over the middle of the map. Very difficult to take a base like 12 or 6 after the initial push is taken care of. Like, if these power generators go down, you are asking for it. But, you know, it's 4 different structures, and it will give you a pretty heavy warning there. The Witness is continuing to establish some information control. Got more lattices coming up. There's a lot of vassals being made, interestingly enough, by Ayud. A later vassal timing doesn't seem that common. But the Kabbalah scouted the Artisan, so that's clearly the target here. Looks like a 3rd base on the way for HitEmUp. He'll be doing so faster than his opponent. Down goes the Artisan. kind of locked into its harvesting. Ooh, and the Kabbalist also snipes the worker who was trying to make a Nexus. That's pretty good. Warden over here. He canceled that a few times. I'm not really sure why. I think he might have been making sure that like it wasn't going to block his harvesting or something. More witnesses being made. Amaranths being added. Interesting. So I do think that what we're missing, one of the things that we might be missing right here is like, I look at this army from Aoud, and I feel like Aurora detonations going off on top of them would really heavily hurt the sort of crowding of infantry units, right? The Protoss infantry, the Rangers, if you will, struggle versus splash damage. Auroras are pretty cheap to mass produce if you make a lot of them. Not that much splash damage over here. In fact, the Cantavis must still be in the Envoy. Yeah, there's no splash damage, in fact, for the army. So far as I can see. A couple idols, okay. Yeah, not really anything frontal-oriented. So the generators are going to go down faster than we thought initially. Margus boosting armor pen is pretty big versus Protoss armies, so happy to see that. If you're on Aoud's side here. Witness will see a couple of units being moved through, and I think it will actually scout that the generators are being broken up. So this is advanced warning for HitEmUp that when he sees the army on this side, they can more easily flank towards the other side. Sideshow was always a map where you tried to go around the sides as opposed to the middle of the map because it gets really, really clustered up. And these bridges are going to be conduits of death, that's for sure. But Smokeshow is a little bit more open when it comes to big frontal attacks like this. Let's see. Because the Vassals came in, again, only the idols here for splash damage. We got Charlatans as well, multiplying a lot of the damage that's being dealt. The Golems are taking a long time to die. The Heralds are keeping everything alive as well. But this right flank is falling for HitEmUp. His units on the east are struggling to keep up. On the west, we've got the Atreus is still going. The Cantavis drop is big. Looks like he's still able to get some pretty good damage there. His kill count racking up to 11-14 before he expires. And it looks like maybe Aoud's army will be routed eventually. The Manifolds are offering so much armor penetration here. HitEmUp has some reinforcements coming in. They don't have any armor pen boosts over here to deal with those Zealots, and the Ecclesias are keeping everything alive in the process. A single Herald for Aoud, providing so much value right now, although he's not really targeting the right things. But every time a unit dies around the Herald, it speeds the whole Protoss army up. Obviously cares about allies versus enemies there, so every time a unit dies around Aoud's army, that's what ends up happening. Nothing was mining at the mineral-only third this entire time for HitEmUp, so it's not even like he got a big eco boost from his worker lead that he had there. He's going to drop an Ardent Authority behind it. It's a prolonged fight, as PvP fights typically are. Uh-oh. Witnesses take some damage. He doesn't have anything to deal with the crowds of Gateway and Rogue Gallery units. He needs to try to outlast him with things like Golems, Atreus's, Amaranths. His own Heralds have been destroyed, though, and he's really going to be lacking a lot. He's got Ardents coming for the splash damage from the Positron. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. If he had a lot of Cantavis, I think Storm would have helped change that fight as well. But I called out even before the fight, and I haven't watched this beforehand, that you look at the army comp, you need some splash, and I think Auroras are underutilized for factors such as that, but HitEmUp definitely down a little bit. Now, he's bought enough time with his army movement and his workers evacuating that even though there's a base taken at 9 o'clock, which is a gas base for Aoud, HitEmUp does still have a lot of production, and he's got his Ardent Authorities up. So if there's another 30 seconds before Aoud commits, we could see some pretty good units be made. Unitary Union on the way. Positron coming. I think you need like 6 Positrons here to really change this attack, though. Unless you can really keep those 2 Positrons alive for a long time. You need to focus down the Herald, in my opinion, but there's 4 of them now. I don't know if that's going to be possible. Warden to help a little bit with DPS. Making a lot of Heralds of his own. Still no extra Cantavis for Storm. He did slow down the economy of Aoud a lot. So this extra base is going to take a while to start paying for itself when you factor in all the static defense that was invested. But it will eventually do so. And no Scribe survived the evacuation. The Kabbalist hunted them all down. Still finding value despite the initial block. So we're going to be up to 4 Positrons before any attack occurs. Aoud's still kind of just sharking around, waiting for HitEmUp to leave the base right now. Canvassing everywhere to make sure that they're are no other expansions taken by HitEmUp himself. Clarion on the way. I love it. I think anything that can allow you to keep your more vulnerable units alive for longer. Critically, just trying to outlast the opponent is going to be a big deal for HitEmUp's army. But we have an Asciliant coming. We have a Synthetic Synod starting, a tier 4 structure for the Protoss. I do think that this points towards Aoud taking the game. Obviously, he has that extra base that started to develop. He's getting Vespene from it. Well, from the Ridge. He actually isn't actively harvesting from the Geyser. That's a thing he may not notice immediately. Somebody asks, requesting me to talk about the Herald. So the Herald debuffs enemies when it attacks, and those enemies become beacons of shield steel for anybody that targets them. So you can, if this Herald attacks, you know, an enemy Zealot or Golem, then anything that attacks that Zealot or Golem will be getting shields back, as if they were being healed by an Ecclesiast, for example. The other ability for the Herald is that when an ally dies around them, they get Vengeance, which is the movement speed passive. And when they themselves die, they convert enemy corpses into attack speed. So, pretty important unit, but not a whole lot of corpses here for HitEmUp to benefit from. His Positrons are doing a lot of damage, but they're not breaking through anything. And it looks like everything has evaporated here very quickly for HitEmUp. His Positrons actually stopped attacking for some time there. I think he was trying to focus down the Heralds, but it was not to be. He just doesn't have enough armor penetration. His manifolds were all down here instead of more centralized in the fight, and that will be a wrap on the army immediately. The Clarion was there to try to keep the shields going, but it was insufficient as well. And that should be the game. The Clarion links all allies. Well, Grand Library sucks, GG. I think HitEmUp actually typed GG. That's surprising. The Clarion was the floating unit there. It's a detector that also links allies with the phase link passive that splits incoming shield damage. A portion of it will be spread across everybody that's linked. So a pretty powerful aura for defensive purposes, but it's sort of like a Protoss equivalent to the Antseal, but even more powerful. Definitely something that we could see more of, I think, because it is one of those units that doesn't get to see enough screen time. But at the end of the day, there wasn't really that much there for HitEmUp to augment with that passive. It was something that Aoud just had his number when it came to the mathematics of it. GG.